We just saw the Almanac. A lot of the animations that you saw were done by Blake Brown, who's a senior member of the team, and Gloria as well. Gloria Cade. So does anybody have questions about that last piece? Yes.
I'm guessing that the voiceover of Teddy Roosevelt isn't an actual one unless we have like HD recording back in the day. What is the process of finding people for those voiceovers?
So this is the first season when we've really started doing voiceovers. Maybe we had one last season. I can't remember.
Gloria did one.
Gloria did one. Yes, that's right. She was our first. So there's the process. No. Charles does a very great Teddy Roosevelt. We learned after we hired someone to do it, he started impersonating the guy that we hired. We're like, what did we hire someone for? But no, we used a service called voices.com, and we put it out there. People use that all the time, and you put it out there, and a lot of people apply, and you go through and you decide who you like, and yeah, it's really nice.
There is a recording of Teddy Roosevelt doing in another speech. Yes. So we use, and he talks like that. He's like, we recommend. So we, when we did voices.com, that's my impression of Charles Elmore doing Teddy Roosevelt. We sent that link out and put it on voices.com and said this, and then the other guy, James Norman, we came up with some adjectives, how he should sound. There's another voiceover that we have in the upcoming season of Cherokee Chief John Ross. And we started thinking, well, he's from the South, but would people in the South at that time have the same kind of dialect that people in the South have now? But he was educated further north, so he might have that kind of inflection as well. So, we really try to be as historically accurate as possible, and then guesstimating to the best of our abilities. Fun little anecdote about this one: when we put out the bid for James Norman, and he lists all of the 5 civilized tribes, and I think we only had 2 or 3 people that did not pronounce Osage, Osage. Osage. We also had an Osage.
Yeah, they don't live around here.
No, so we're immediately like, no.
So, yeah. Any other questions on that? Yes.
I was wondering where you go to get the photos from the past. Is it the internet or museums or where?
Everywhere. Yes, this particular story. Oklahoma Historical Society and Cherokee National Archives are our 2 main sources that I immediately always go to. And then there's a lot of other smaller historical societies that don't have their archives online. So I'll usually call them up, email them, say, do you all have anything? 5 Civilized Tribes Museum, they sent us some things as well. Gloria found that front page of the Daily Oklahoman. That's old enough. It's fair use as well. Then there was the one particular photo was the State of Sequoia Convention. I knew that this existed because I had seen it out there, but I could not find any attribution, which immediately drove me crazy because you have to do that. You need to do that. I could not find it anywhere. There was a documentary that was produced about 10 years ago by a Kiowa filmmaker, and about the state of Sequoia. I contacted him and I said, where did you get this? And he said, I know it was a historical society. I'll send you the information that I have. You can go from there. So kind of did a back roads to him. Library of Congress, all of that is in the public domain, so that's great. That's where the footage of Teddy Roosevelt's from. Newspapers, the Constitution itself was published in a newspaper, in the Muskogee newspaper at the time, and then we cropped it out and put a filter on it so it looked like older document. I'm sure there's more. I mean, all over the place. Yeah.
Another question?
Yeah, Teddy Roosevelt's inauguration address, the excerpted part seems to conflict directly with the excerpted declarations of the tribes that was shown just before that. And my question is, was there any blowback or legal fighting or recourse or redress or anything else sought after it became clear, and perhaps even after it happened, for Oklahoma to be the state instead of two states of Sequoia and Oklahoma? So does my question make sense?
Are you asking like once?
Yeah, what was the blowback, if any? What was the, were there any,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like that animated segment when we talk about that there were these culture clashes, there, if you read the newspapers from that time, the Indian Territory newspapers and the Oklahoma Territory newspapers were vehemently opposed to each other, or at least the folks that were writing the articles were, I should say. But there was huge culture clashes. I did not look into more. I would love to, because this story absolutely fascinates me. But into, you know, were there bar brawls because they didn't like their neighbors, you know, that kind of thing.
we had a congressman that was, were a couple, a governor and a congressman that were both
Yes.
participants in the Sequoia Constitutional Conference, and then clearly active in Oklahoma government.
Yeah, that happened a lot. There were a lot of those delegates that were in the State of Sequoia Convention. There was a good percentage of them actually were involved in the next 2 years in the Oklahoma Statehood Convention. So they basically said, well, if we're not going to do it here, we're at least going to make sure that they do it right, and they wanted to be involved.
But who here finds it funny that nobody knows that? I mean, it's really interesting. So that's one of the things we love to do with these almanacs is to tell the history that you haven't heard.
Well, that is news to me, because I hadn't heard that, and I'm embarrassed to say that, because I've lived here all my life, which has been sort of a long time. And, you know, Oklahoma has been Cherokee, as Cherokee has been Oklahoma, and as far as I'm concerned, I've lived here. I mean,
But you know, I mean, if you've lived here forever, and if your family's been here forever, and you know people from Western Oklahoma, we could not be more different. I have very good friends from Western Oklahoma, and they're the nicest, sweetest people you ever meet, but we are just so different.
what way?
My brother-in-law has a theory that they are frontiers people and that they didn't have neighbors close by, and you're just happy to see somebody. Because they were just, you know, they were land-run people, and then of course all this, but then in eastern Oklahoma we were made of outlaws, and we had caves and hills and things to hide in, and that, you know, still today I wouldn't necessarily walk up on somebody's property in Adair County without knowing whose property I was walking up on.
But we also shared our land. We had communal
We
land.
had-
We didn't.
Yeah, we were
didn't-
communal property owners, we didn't, you know, stake the ground and then this is ours, and so it's just, you know, it's just very culturally different, but I still see the differences today
And
of families who live out there
historically,
forever.
Cherokees are very community driven. I mean, you take care of everybody in your community, and it's tight knit. All the communities are very tight knit. Yes.
Yeah, about that is that Muscogee Creek, and a lot of the tribes, because from way back, they were community oriented and they took care of everybody. And like about the tribes, a lot of people think, you know, just the Cherokee came on the Trail of Tears, but a lot of tribes, Muscogee Creek and all kinds of tribes, even other tribes from the Midwest and stuff. But also I was going to say is like, I mean, there's some people that even, they live in amongst Indians around here, but they still don't know hardly anything because they might not interact with American Indians, or they might not ask any questions. And so, and a lot of American Indians sometimes think, because they live in the tribe and everything, and have family members and everything, they think all of America knows about them, or they don't, they think we're pretty well known and stuff, but we're actually, in America, we're the most misunderstood, invisible people And, but we're